Ever wondered how plants reproduce? It's a fascinating process that involves a little bit of romance, a little bit of science, and a whole lot of pollen. Today we're diving into the world of pollination, the miraculous process that gives rise to the next generation of plants. Imagine a tiny grain of pollen, barely visible to the naked eye. This microscopic particle holds the power to create new life. But before it can do so, it must undertake an epic journey from the male part of a flower, the anther, to the female part, the stigma. This journey is what we call pollination. Now there are two main ways this journey can happen: self-pollination and cross-pollination. In self-pollination, the pollen grain doesn't have to go far. It travels from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower on the same plant. This can happen through various mechanisms. It could be the wind, gently shaking the plant and causing the pollen to fall onto the stigma, or it could be gravity, pulling the pollen downwards. Sometimes the plant itself can even facilitate this process. On the other hand, cross-pollination is a bit more adventurous. Here, the pollen grain must travel from the anther of one flower to the stigma of a completely different flower on a genetically different plant of the same species. This journey can be aided by the wind or water, just like in self-pollination. But more often than not, it involves a third party: animals. Insects, birds, bats, and other creatures can transport pollen from flower to flower, often without even realizing it. Now, you might be wondering, why would a plant go through the trouble of cross-pollination when self-pollination seems so much easier? Well, the answer lies in genetic diversity. By mixing the genes of two different plants, cross-pollination creates offspring that are more resilient and adaptable. In contrast, self-pollination is a bit like cloning. The offspring are essentially identical to the parent plant. This can be advantageous in stable environments where the plant is already well adapted, but it doesn't offer the same kind of genetic diversity that cross-pollination does. So, to recap, pollination is the journey of a pollen grain from anther to stigma. Self-pollination happens within the same flower or plant, and is facilitated by wind, gravity, or the plant itself. Cross-pollination involves a different flower on a genetically different plant, and often includes a third-party animal courier. Both types of pollination have their advantages. Self-pollination is a surefire way to reproduce, while cross-pollination promotes genetic diversity. But no matter how it happens, pollination is a vital part of the life cycle of plants, a process that brings forth the next generation in the ever-turning wheel of life.